Questa quella per me pari sono a guardare oltre d'intorno mi vedo del mio cuore l'impero non cedo meglio ad una che ad altre beltà la costruzione sai qual di che il famo l'infiora la vita soggi questa mi torna grande forse un'altra bello sarà un'altra forse un'altra bello sarà.
You know, Fremantle is a pretty special sort of place. Most Western Australians know that, but many of us are only fairly recent converts, drawn here to the port city after it was spruced up for the America's Cup defence in 1986.
The atmosphere is unbelievable. Guns firing off, horns blowing, helicopters circling, people cheering.
But for people who are Fremantle born and bred, this place has always had something special. That's something that sets it apart from the rest of Perth and makes them proud to be known as Fremantle folk. And now they have something else. Now they have their own football team. But there's nothing new about football.
Very exciting day for football, Australian football in Western Australia. We're delighted to announce that the AFL Commission has approved the entry of a second team from Western Australia into the AFL competition in 1995. We agree with the Western Australian Football Commission that the preference is that this side is a Fremantle-based team.
The Sharks have won the 1994 Grand Final.
What we want is for the new club to be welcomed by the whole of the West Australian football community, except for the Eagles supporters perhaps, and we want the Fremantle football community in particular to get behind it.
Because let me tell you that South Fremantle have won the 1980 Grand Final, 23 goals, 18, 156.
It's our view that to better balance the national competition, that we should have two teams playing out of Western Australia, and it was really then just a case of determining the timing. We looked at 94 some little time ago, and we mutually agreed that 94 probably wasn't the best time to do it for a couple of reasons. One of them was that we weren't going to give enough planning time to put the team together, and we all know that we gave the West Coast Eagles minimal time to set up, and I think that had some impact on their early performances.
And the game is really on. We'll let the picture tell the story.
Let's just sit back and watch the action.
Yes, the rivalry has always been good, but friendly. Like South Fremantle players were off the field were just as friendly as what East Fremantle players were. It was really great.
That was the prediction. Cormac hit behind the play, and the blue and whites are showing what it's all about. Peake is in there. Out goes Peake.
How important then that Fremantle was the base for this new club as opposed to any other urban area of Perth?
Well, the first team is what we would call a composite side. It was It was a side that was not made up of any one block of people or clubs or supporters. So it was very important to see a very clear characteristic come out in the new club. And in our discussions with the Commission, it was always going to be Fremantle. It had to be Fremantle. They had their clear differentiation from the people who were supporting the West Coast, despite the fact that quite a few Fremantle supporters were indeed supporting the West Coast. But they were the group that could easily split away and feel quite self-contained and have an area in Western Australia that was clearly differentiated and obviously an area of very fervent supporters.
As soon as you drive into Freo, there's just a great feeling. The town's always buzzing, there's people around, and to play footy in the AFL footy will be really exciting.
Oh, it is very special. I mean, I've only played with South Fremantle for a year, and already I feel like I've got a very close relationship with Fremantle, the town and the people themselves, and they're great, very, very strong followers of football, very passionate in their football beliefs and followings, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And
it's got a real tradition, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. Yeah, just talk to some of the old players, and you hear the history and the tradition. It's quite mind blowing sometimes.
It was always inevitable that something like that was going to happen when the Eagles came into the competition, and I suppose they had to have someone on the other side of town, so they had to be Fremantle. I mean, they get behind whatever happens in that area, and they're just a very good club, and they love their footy. They just love the footy down that area, and I know they'll support it very well.
Right over the half-forward line towards Johnson, and Johnson takes the mark in front of Joe Lawson, about 40 yards directly in front of Old East goals. Well, here's a great opportunity for the captain-coach to bring up the first East Fremantle goal. Kicked 100 goals during the year. Let's watch him with this one. Listen to the crowd.
I do love East Fremantle, and I do love the Fremantle people.
Fremantle's a pretty special place, isn't it?
Well, it's got great history. I mean, you look at the great players that East Fremantle had, as I mentioned, Jack Clark, you had Ray Sorrell, Normie Rogers and so on, Percy Johnson, right? Stevie Marsh, these are history, blokes that have got history written all over them, you know. And then you can go to South Fremantle and they had John Jerovich, they had Toddy, Gary Scott. What about Tommy Grulicic? You know, great footballers. But then when the game, we hated one another, you'd really sort of cross the border. You hated South Fremantle that much and they hated East Fremantle. But then you'd go down to the Roma restaurant or cafe in Fremantle and you'd run into one another and you had great meals down there. And Frank, the owner of the place, I think he plays a Jewish piano there. But fantastic place, great history.
His Excellency meets John Todd and now Jack Sheedy. Tosses the coin. Sheedy calls heads. It's come down tails and Harper has won the toss. His Excellency, accompanied by the League President, Mr. Roger Gay, leaves the field. John Todd, the young South Fremantle rover, and Sandow.
Well, going back many years, and people don't realise that East Fremantle and South Fremantle trained on the same oval. And there was great power strength between the two. And when East Fremantle were powerful, they used to push South Fremantle to one pocket and not allow them to have much of the oval. And then when South Fremantle became very strong, they started to push East Fremantle back a touch, and so they always would work on the wharf, and there was just great rivalry. And the derbies back in those days were just super special.
Sikatoste sweeping through. Still has the ball in his possession. Tackled by Shields. Sikatoste back on his feet again. Down he goes again. Get him a kick, Monty.
Fremantle jumper is something that you aspired to ever since you went to South Terrace Primary School, and something you, as you were brought up, you heard of the feats of the guys during the golden era. You wanted to sort of emulate their deeds, and when you played in a derby, you absolutely despised the opposition, and still do today. I highly respect their club, and it's great to see They produced so many great footballers, but on Derby Day, once we crossed that white line, it was war.
Over to Bahaja, centre half forward. He can line them up from here if he wants to, can Tony Bahaja. He's kicked 2 already, lines them up, and if the last goal was a sealer, that one is for sure.
I suppose it's just a passion for football. I mean, we don't have much to do down Fremantle. There's not a lot, so I suppose we all just sort of have a love of football, and it's sort of gone from there. I don't know, maybe it's the Port. I mean, Port Melbourne, it's the same over there, and Port Adelaide. There's something about Fremantle, we're just addicted to football.
The Fremantle Football Club was conceived, if you like, by the Australian Football League and the West Australian Football Commission. But that was just the start of a long and sometimes painful pregnancy. It was a process that included a search for a true Fremantle identity, a search that turned up some fairly unusual suggestions.
Name, logo and colours.
It will not accept second best.
While purple may be fashionable today,
if we do develop alternative strips, the shorts can be whatever colour we like. We haven't actually discussed with the AFL the options in terms of shorts, but
we felt that in terms of names, logos, uniforms and so forth, we had a very traditional look about us in the AFL. It's very difficult to change traditions, and many of the clubs, particularly in Victoria, really were not prepared to adopt more modern approaches to design and so forth, simply because, traditions are very hard to get. One doesn't easily throw them away. So whilst we are starting from scratch, you might as well try and do something a little bit different.
There was a campaign run by Channel 7 and the West Australian, which attracted, I think, around 5,000 entries, with Vikings and Pirates and Flamingos and Jailers and all sorts of things. And so the public were really interested. And it went on for quite a time, because we were determined to come up with a name that fitted Fremantle and fitted the club.
Although this green is less vibrant than the brighter green that we've had there. But again, it works quite nicely with this very...
purple is the single most popular colour in US sports marketing at the moment. But the thing that came through most importantly from our point of view was the fact that Fremantle's uniqueness is generated by human traits, the humanity of work and the work ethic of success through toil and those sorts of things.
Crossover sort of effect, but we actually turned it more into a singlet.
What we were looking for was an image which embodied the spirit of Fremantle and the traditional elements of Fremantle, but was used in a way which was contemporary and modern, and moved away from the normal graphic styles of AFL football.
The logo, the powerful logo, is terrific. That was immediately from the interim board had wide acceptance. Everyone had plenty of debate on colours and names and everything else, but as soon as that logo was presented, everyone said, terrific, that's great.
On the away third now.
There's still some work to be done on the colours because they're not exactly as we
quite have
specified. We recognise that Fremantle's not going to beat Australia.
Yeah. You allowed us to sit in on the meeting where they presented their final submission to you. There were some fairly startled faces.
I don't know about startled faces. I suppose initially a different approach, definitely. I think it's the first logo that actually has a human being in it. As you know, most of the other logos have animals or birds of some sort, other than maybe Carlton, which is just called the Blues. So in that respect, it was different, but it was clearly appropriate too. I mean, we have human supporters; they're very real people, and why not reflect that in the logo?
It's my great pleasure, on behalf of the board of the Fremantle Football Club, on behalf of the West Australian Football Commission, and the Australian Football Commission to introduce you to the Fremantle Dockers.
How do you think Victorian people perceive Fremantle, the wider Fremantle?
Not with a lot of thought. I mean, I think, and as I said, it's not this superior attitude. I mean, we may be perceived as holding that view, but I don't believe that. I just think that we're so preoccupied with the traditional VFL and the remnants of the domestic competition that we had, that we don't spend a lot of time thinking about. We will think a lot more about Fremantle when their football team appears on the ground, and particularly when they start winning games.
When it eventually came out, what was the reaction here to the name, logo, colours, the identity package?
I like it. I mean, I'm conservative by nature, and when I first heard the name and saw the logo, I wanted to sort of digest it for a while, but I think the logo is very strong, and clearly it's got sort of the cultural links to the team it represents. And the colour scheme, I like that too, particularly the away strip. I reckon that looks great. They've done it far better than what Brisbane did in similar circumstances, and I think that's a reflection of the football culture that exists in Perth that wasn't there in Brisbane.
And so the Dockers had an identity, but while the search for a name had been going on, so too had the search for the right person to take the helm of the new club. Kevin Sheedy was mentioned, as was Robert Shaw, but of course Sheedy stayed with Essendon, and Robert Shaw went to the Adelaide Crows. All the while, the popular local choice had been Gerard Neesham, a man born and bred in East Fremantle, and one with a remarkably successful reputation after engineering 4 premierships in just 7 seasons at Claremont. But what about that style they insist on calling chip and draw?
Neesham.
That's why they call him as general, you know.
Played a tremendous year, been an ornament to the game. Neesham, cool as a cucumber.
The man who's marshalled this Claremont side, not only this afternoon but this season, Gerard Neesham. Do this so often, draw the man. Delaney's got it now. Neesham's style of footy.
I don't think you can describe it that simplistically. You know, it's quite a complex style and takes a long time to actually coach and train. And I think all I'd like to say is that I hope it is a modern style of football, and it definitely blends in with the modern style of sport, where you have to be able to attack and defend depending on which positions you play. So the chip and draws are quite a humorous thing for me because it's anything but that.
Okay, you're all family. You're going to have to get pretty close together, Pete.
How do you reckon we got this many? Oh, yeah, you can see Teddy. Teddy's the Teddy's. That's the bubble.
Galilee strides to the front 100 yards from home and comes right away in the run to the post. A great win to Galilee, scoring by 2 lengths officially from light fingers. A close third duo.
You used to get a lot of good advice from a lot of good people, and you couldn't wish for greater supporters.
How good a bloke is Gerard?
Gerard's a great guy, and we all love him, and we're all behind him, and doesn't matter what happens with the Dockers, it will not affect Gerard whatsoever.
We used to all come together every Sunday for dinner or evening meal, every Sunday when I was young. And we used to, play together. So when I was young, I was mixing with, Michael Regan, Con Regan, all the Regans. And so, yeah, and that type of thing. And we used to just like the success of the members of the family. So you were brought up to firstly enjoy other people's success, and also, I suppose, you had really good role models.
It's a wobbly old kick. Will it get the distance? No. Marked by Con Regan, right in the teeth of the goal. He plays on to Trizzy Lawrence. John Deathridge. And Con Regan coming through strongly. Would be holding the ball.
Gerard has yet to be proven in AFL ranks, but you've only got to look at his record in waffle competition to prove that he is a good coach. But my understanding, and I've been in football now for well over 50 years, a person from England could come out and coach by the rule book. I mean, you don't have to be too bright to know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But if you've got a brick wall in that straight line, it's a hell of a way to drive a car.
There it is! Claremont have won the grand final. Nisham all smiles. His players have done it for him again. He's a master coach, a master tactician. He had the players at his disposal.
Gerard's worked out the way to do it. He's brought a lot of sports, mainly water polo, rugby, football, soccer. He's brought everything into one thing, and he's got the finer points. And it's an insult to Australian mentality that it took a kid like Gerard to come along and show all these experts how to play football.
The chip and draw description is too simple, isn't it?
Too simple. They criticised East Fremantle in their heydays, the 1946 undefeated side, the short passing game, because people that called it a short passing game didn't understand it. What it was is you kicked a man on his own. Now, whether that was 30 yards or 70 yards made no difference. You kicked to a man. Now, Gerard's put an emphasis on that he chips and draws, he helps the player with the ball, and he uses the ball. He doesn't just give it away. And it's a wonderful style of football, and it'll take some stopping.
The ball to the centre of the ground. Harry Nisham takes a good mark right in the centre of the ground, pulled around the neck. And umpire Woods looks like awarding 15 yards here. Yes, Harry Nisham to be awarded 15 yards.
It's creating the advantage at the point of where the play is, and to create that advantage. They say chip and draw, it's hand pass or small kick or whatever, but basically what they don't understand is that in doing that, and that's not really what it's about, but in doing it you actually put a player totally out of the competition. He is no longer a threat, and you are left with a man able to score. That's really what it's about.
You've got to go flat out, mate. It's the wrong colours. You get over there and you man a man on him. When we've gone man to man across the board, one person to one person, they've gone, oh yeah, get the ball, mate. Bullshit, tackle. You're on the ground, pal. Next one, you're on the ground. Where do you think they've gone? No.
Okay, explain the philosophy then.
Well, the basic philosophy is too complex to explain. The basic philosophy is you have to be able to identify an advantage and take maximum use of that, and you have to be able to defend both as a forward and a defender, and attack both as a forward and a defender. And so what I think Aussie rules is moving towards is becoming a complete sport, and most other sports have already moved there.
Abraham, who's been very impressive since coming onto the ground, he's got plenty of speed. Away he comes again, kicks inside the 50 on the lead Burrows.
So what things do you look for in sports people, your players? What do you look for? What qualities are important?
They have to be able to actually, they have to be very competitive, prepared to learn. I think that's really important, that a player is prepared to actually, well, has to be an intelligent sportsman. I like them to be quiet, as in winning, and even quieter when they lose. So, you know, just, I suppose, a lot of the things that you saw Hawthorn, and not that we're actually copying them or would like to copy them, but there's a lot of things like people admired in Hawthorn, and I think a lot of their qualities are probably very important for any team.
Down to Browning. Swans teaming better at the moment. He'll look for Nisham, who does a very good blind turn. Over to right again. A long kick this time by right. To Browning. Nisham calling forward Paul Morwood, but he goes longer than that. Finds Sylvia.
Tonight today with the bank manager.
Yeah.
Gerard's a very determined fella, knew what he wants in life, and I think that's been reflected with his success that he's had with Claremont, and where he's won 3 or 4 premierships, and I think he'll do very well with the coach of the new Fremantle side.
Did you ever imagine when you were coaching Gerard that he would one day follow in your footsteps and become a coach?
Yeah, I think so, because as I said before, he's a pretty deep thinker about the game, and very involved in it, and Gerard was even then wanted to make a career out of football, and unfortunately his playing career was cut short over here. through injury, but it doesn't surprise me that Jared's gone on to be a coach and be a successful coach.
If there is a downside to this job, is it this, media, the intrusion on the family?
I think it's the fact that you actually you lose your privacy, and that's a real dilemma.
You're very protective of your family, aren't you?
Oh yeah, but well yeah, and they all like it. I mean, they understand that it's a requirement of the job, and I think it is. I mean, it's a really important requirement that you have to actually front the media, whether it's in good conditions or adverse conditions. It was terrific the other day coming into Darwin, and the boys at the cameras were there waiting for me, and I walked past them, they didn't realise who I was.
It's because the last time you were here you had hair.
Yeah, that's right. And a beard probably, but more hair on the head. And it was really hilarious because they actually came over later and, oh yeah, sorry mate, you know, they were all apologetic and I was just really happy.
Present yourself, don't run out of the plane, oh, they didn't kick it to me. We've got to kick to someone, and you're it.
So is there anybody you really want to stick it up with this job?
No, I haven't. Those things don't drive me. You know, no, not at all. I actually just really keen to get in there and produce a team that's exciting, that actually plays with a bit of flair, that people are really happy to come along and watch and can see the development of a young footballer and the development of a young football team. I think, you know, football is the most exciting sport in the world. I've seen most of them, and to play it in that manner, to me, is really important.
Having a name, a set of club colours and a coach was a fair start for the Dockers, but of course being a footy club is all about having football players. Jared Neesham established a coaching staff that included Neil Danaher from Essendon and his own former assistant at Claremont in Mark Riley. Between them, they've drawn together some established AFL stars and some of the best available talent from the WAFL.
Centering kick, looking for Allen. Yep. Yes, finds it on the second try.
My role with Fremantle is certainly going to be more of a, obviously a leadership role and perhaps teaching some of the younger players what I've learned the last 5 years.
They put you on the spot. How many of the guys out there tonight do you know?
I've got to learn 4 names every night, so I should know them all in a couple of weeks.
That was fairly easy. There was no real challenge in it. So now we'll just start throwing it around on the different names. And as we throw it, if you don't know the person's name, Robert,
At that stage, we're still getting to know each other's names, and we'd come from the 8 different local clubs and from all over different parts of Australia. And I think the camaraderie in the club already is definitely where I'd like it to be. That's really good.
Okay, last staple there in your left hand, Jared.
We've got some pictures of you jumping off a pole about 40 feet up in the air with a blindfold on. So, can you remember that?
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
Well, it's actually a lot easier with a blindfold. That's the truth. I mean, because you're not looking down and worried about what's down. So you get up there, and I suppose it's the end of the day. You're totally confident in the security you have because you're actually harnessed up, and you know the people down there are actually going to pull the harness or pull the rope so you don't fall. So that was really the whole aim, is actually the attachment to to your teammates and an attachment to your coaching staff and a bit of trust in them. So to go up that pole, blindfold and jump off was to me no issue because I knew a couple of the blokes hanging on to the end of the rope.
Room from behind, hooks it down. Waters has got it. Back to goal. He's right on the 50. Has a look towards goal. That's a pretty good effort. Great kick.
Ben and myself, almost every night we have a chat about the way things are going and what we can achieve just with the next training run that we're doing. So I guess we're pretty aware of how important, seeing we don't have too many senior players, how important our role is. But when it does come down to it, the youngest player can be a leader themselves. I mean, you don't have to have played 80, 90, 100 games to be a leader. So we're really relying on a lot of the young guys. We've got exceptional talent just to come through.
What do you like to do away from footy?
Oh, pretty much anything to do with the water. It's easy to please me that way. Jet skiing, scuba diving, surfing, just heading down the beach. I mean, that's where I really relax.
Those jet skis are fairly hard handlebars, don't they?
They do, mate. And if you're going to have some fun on them, you've got to push it to the edge too. So, I was having a good time on it.
What about the car? Tell me about this car.
My car? Oh, mate, I've always liked old cars. Before I had the Mustang, I had a HR, which unfortunately was stolen, but the HR was a good car too, so no, I just like old cars.
So what's special about the Mustang?
It's mine, mate. No, I always wanted to get a Mustang when I was younger. I sort of always liked the car, so I've got one now, and I'll just have it for a few years yet too.
The HR was a fairly stable car. Are you a hoon again now?
No, I'm not a rev head. I don't drive around fast, although when I was younger I had a few altercations with the law, but these days with an old car, you've got to look after them, so I sort of just cruise around.
With Susanna Carr and Rick Arden, this is 7 Nightly News.
Even though we put in a pretty good effort, you always want to win. So, however, our first AFL game, I keep it all in perspective. I'm a footballer first before I'm, any sort of media personality or anything, but, it's just an interest that I'd like to pursue. The people at Channel 7 have been excellent in helping me get involved, so, I'll see where it takes me. I mean, bottom line is, I want to try and do a good job and have a bit of fun as well, so, yeah, it should be good.
Defence towards midfield. Wills gathers the bouncing ball. He's got toe. He breaks away. Kicks down towards half forward. Flood is favoured by the kick.
Like over here, you walk down the street and no one knows who I am, which is good because in Geelong...
That'll change.
Yeah, well, it probably will, I don't know, but you hope it does, I suppose. If you're playing well, people begin to realise who you are, well, it means you're playing well or you're playing very badly, one or the other. But in Geelong, like they're pretty parochial, even though it's not quite as big as Perth or anything like that. But
Wills wants it. That's the target. Wills settles in front. From behind, Worsfold, great grab in front.
Great work from Wills, who ran 150 metres to get that one.
Wills takes him on. Gets by Worsfold. Kicks from 35. Oh, great goal!
I'd decided the week previewing up that I've been struggling a bit and that I'd decided to run with the ball as much as I could. It's just a spur of the moment thing that I took off around the bloke and kicked the goal. The kick started off like it was in the middle of the points and without the wind or anything, just a bad kick. I think it swung back towards the goals, which was good. So, it was a great feeling.
Round 1. Selection 1 is Fremantle.
1667, Jeff White, Southern Stingrays.
very excited about going over to Nullarbor. And I'm just looking forward to it.
Why?
Oh, it's just AFL. I play AFL, new club, 35,000 members. You know, I've got family over there, great support. That's why I'm looking forward to it. Knowing that I'm number one for Fremantle doesn't mean I'm really number one in Australia, so that's how I look at it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Young, can I help you?
The defence looks pretty good and they're playing pretty well in defence at the moment. Riley has been very good this afternoon, comes away with it.
The highlight and the lowlight was the grand final. I mean, we've done so much work to get there, and there's so many good moments along the way, but the actual game was, was terrible. It was certainly the lowlight.
Look at this again, Evans chops it off. Sumich is going to kick it over O'Reilly's head for a goal. It's not good enough, Geelong.
Have you watched the grand final?
No, I haven't. But, the biggest disappointment with the grand final was not that we lost, but the way we just capitulated in the last quarter, and they virtually ran over us, which was very disappointing.
His head and kicks a goal.
So how does Stephen O'Reilly plan to make up for that?
I mean, you can't make up for things that happened in the past, but all you can do is go out there each week and do your best and try as hard as you can, and that's all you can do and try and win each week. There's no use worrying about the past.
We'll stay where we are, really well, half forward. Burks, Hutch and Kingsley.
I'm working with Ernst & Young. It's, they're very supportive of football too. At the same time, I've got to respect that they're a very hard-working family. They need work done too, so let's have to juggle those two and see how things go.
And this is your office?
Well, I wish it was, but maybe one day.
Leach. It's hard to tackle Quentin Leach.
Ready to kick the half-back, Addard and Leach.
Oh,
He's just too good today.
Terrific aerialist, isn't he?
Yep. Beautiful mark by Leach.
Pretty well tailor-made for AFL. He's very strong, very quick. I think it was one of those players that will make the transition very, very quickly. And I think he's be great to have another 5 or 6 of him.
You were actually the first footballer to wear the Fremantle Dockers outfit, weren't you?
Yeah, that was another reason why I did it. Become a part of history.
Twist so you're not sort of so straight on to me. That you might need to move. Just forget that you're being photographed.
Oh yeah, that happened. I was training for Claremont one night and Jared sort of looked at me and said, you know, you're the one, and I didn't understand what he was talking about, and later on that night he told me that they were going to use me for the big poster, and I wasn't really that interested to start with, because I hadn't, been picked up or anything. The team hadn't really even started yet. But then I thought, it'll be good for me, and why not? So I did it.
Korean by birth, goes from 40 metres out. Kick, another one.
kicked 2 so far this afternoon. He's now got 3, and Souths trail by just 4 points.
Managing time's probably the best or the most important thing for me, as well as the ability to make sacrifices. And for me, some people say, you know, oh, not going out on a Friday night, or, you know, not going away with your mates on a weekend trip is a really hard decision to make because I want to play football. For me, those decisions are made in an instance. I mean, it's not a hard decision at all. It's, look, you got a goal there sitting there, you got 2 choices: you go or you stay, and you work hard. And you got to pick to work hard all the time, or else someone else is going to be doing that, and you're behind the 8 ball from the start. And you really want to get any edge on any other person that you can. And I see that as a very easy decision to make.
Not that you're going to get a lot of time for it in the year ahead, but when you can get away from football, what do you like to do?
It's pretty hard for me to say I'll get away from footy, because there wouldn't be an hour in the day go by where I'm not thinking of footy in some way. Whether I like to relax, just, you know, maybe play around a golf or go down the beach. But pretty much I've always bring my footy with me anyway, so it's not something I really want to get away from. I want the footy to be around, and I want to be thinking footy as much as possible.
And from what we saw at Adventure World, there's probably no career in Formula 1 coming up, is there?
No, I don't think so. I had a bit of trouble there. The boys, they wouldn't let me get a clear run on the straight. I was a bit down about that, but I had the fastest car too. But I don't think Adventure World will be too keen to have me back there either.
So I think he's one of those players coming from the waffle who really make his mark.
Storming his way through Nettlebeck. He's aided there by Edwards.
I mean, I'd love to make the finals. I mean, there's no reason why we can't, but others will say we'll struggle to win a game. So it's, and if we won between around 8 games, perhaps a few more would be all right.
And once again, the run up the wing. Watch him go, a real speedster down towards half forward.
We felt that if they could get 5 or 6 wins, that would be a terrific effort in the first year. Now, from observation at this stage, one would have to say that that's a real possibility given the players that they've been able to put together.
This is Abraham breaking away. Down towards the wing, going on one of those searching runs again. A little pirouette.
I would think that they're going to be unrealistic in Perth. I think they'll probably be aiming and hoping for 7 or 8 wins, and I don't believe that's feasible. I think if they can win 4, they will have done very well.
Skipping back was Burrows, a big leap too. Got hands to it, finds the ball brilliantly on the ground. He stops and kicks a goal.
And I'm sure they'd like to win a premiership somewhere in the future, but to actually see us working towards that is the most important thing. I've heard, you know, from no games to 10 games to 2 games to 5, and I just like to meet the ones who say no, because I wouldn't mind having a look at that.
They'll have their ups and they'll have their downs, but that's what it's all about.
I'd like to see them succeed, and it's great to have 2 teams in town where you can go along and get a fair dinkum argument on a Saturday afternoon when they meet.
We are the Freo.